cooling out, waiting for my lady. Got the special sauce, that's so she's my baby, and of course I'll do anything for her. Any day she wants to show her, honey, show her. Got a short mouth, a short tongue. Give me some
This
of those.
G-Love?
Give me.
You know it.
You got to work and deserve it. Earn it to own it. The one you got, so never ever gonna leave it alone. Don't take my spot, don't forget, and never miss the
Yeah.
She does the same.
My baby got sauce.
Your baby ain't
Sweet like mine. Your baby ain't sweet like mine. Your baby ain't sweet like mine. She ain't that sweet.
What else a funky lemonade?
G-Love. You see, listen, you have been going back. You have been going underground. You have been going back with your picks. And I told you last week that I was going to show you how it's done. And I went all the way back to 1995, 94 with G-Love and Sauce. My baby's got sauce. It's another episode of Command Your Morning. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Nick Baldwin. I got Jessie Newquist. Jessie,
hi.
How was your weekend?
My weekend was awesome. I do want to compliment you.
You're saying at all. I can't hear you.
You can't hear me at all?
Nope, can't hear you.
You're lying.
Wait, hold on a second. Maybe that's me.
It is you.
Is it because of me?
It is because of you.
It's because of me.
Yes.
Because I turned my volume down.
There you go.
When I turned off YouTube. Let's start over because it has to be a perfect introduction. Here we go.
Okay.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Command Your Morning. It's a Monday, and all technical difficulties are worked out.
It is a very Monday then.
Oh, my goodness. It is a Monday. I got a case of the Mondays. Jessie, how was your weekend? How are you?
It was awesome. I'm awesome. And I do want to compliment you first. So like once a team leader, always a team leader. You are competitive. And you have entered the music submission competition well, my friend. Well. Game on.
Thank you so much. If you're listening on our podcast on Spotify or Podbean or coming soon to Apple, we can't play the intro song like we play on Facebook and YouTube because they won't let us publish the podcast because we don't have the rights to the songs.
Yeah.
So Jessie has been choosing these songs that are really like underground,
obscure.
They're like what do they used to call them?
Deep cuts.
Oh man, indie. The kids call it indie. That's what the kids are calling it. Yeah, okay. Indie music. Apparently, that's short for independent. That's what I'm hearing.
I've heard.
Yeah,
I've heard that. Yes.
So I started today's show with G-Love and Special Sauce. My baby's got sauce. Went back to my sophomore year of high school with that one.
I love G-Love. Yeah, my weekend was awesome. Can I tell you about? I'm doing this new thing. It's called resting. Yeah, it's a
resting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like as in not doing anything and kind of relaxing.
Yeah, you just kind of like chill and like do things that you want, like watch movies and stuff, and not feel guilty about it. Well, I don't feel guilty about it because I've leveraged out every possible thing. Wait a minute.
Stop. Hold on a second.
Yes.
You cannot be successful if you're working 24/7. You can rest when you're dead. Hustle and grind. That's what you need.
My friend Nick Baldwin would disagree with you. And it was awesome. Okay. Can I tell you about Castaway?
He sounds brilliant, by the way. He sounds brilliant.
He is brilliant. So y'all know the movie Castaway, right? Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
1995-ish.
Yeah, that was the movie that was based on your sabbatical story when you were by yourself and you had to make friends with trees.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So he's a FedEx executive person, right? And he's obsessed with time, and his and the reason behind it is I'm analyzing everybody's personality in every movie and every situation everywhere, right? He's not just obsessed with time and it being correct, but it's because he really wants to serve people well. And so here's my new take on this movie. We can't change our personality styles. Even we can change our skill set, of course. We can change our opinions, we can change our minds, but we can't. I really don't believe that we can change our core values or personality styles, even after being on an island by ourselves for 4 years. And here's why. So Wilson, the volleyball, who sets
Right.
up.
I know Wilson.
The theory is that that's his subconscious, and and that people just need connection. People need connection, and I believe both of those things.
Okay.
And also, when he finally sets sail and gets off the island, remember the half of a porta potty washes up on shore, and that was the sail that he needed to build his boat and get over the breakers and get out into the ocean.
Right.
So, and that he had been on the island for 4 years, and he brought Wilson with him, and he strapped him down. But after several storms, Wilson falls off, and he can't get him. And Wilson, and he's screaming.
Right.
And when he gets himself back onto his boat, he's sobbing, crying for hours, and he's saying, "Wilson, I'm sorry. Wilson, I'm sorry." And so he truly just wanted to serve people well, and that was where he got his quote unquote obsession with time from. This is a really silly movie to analyze the way that I did, but I can't not do it. And so that's my new belief. I used to believe that your personality style can change depending on a season, and I don't anymore. I don't.
First of all, it's definitely not a silly movie. I think there's a lot to be learned from Castaway. Second, I think I agree with you. But I do think that not necessarily that your personality style can change. I think there's parts about your personality that you didn't know were there, and so over time, those personality traits come out, right? Like
I see that.
Yeah, like I think you could, as you grow, your personality continues to come out. Like I don't think that things necessarily change, but I think that there might be aspects of it that didn't fully evolve at that point. You know what I mean? Like sure. I know that I used to be extremely shy in large crowds, like when I was in my 20s, right? In late 20s or maybe early 30s. I was very shy in large groups of people, whereas now I love being around people. I'm outgoing. And that may have been that I talk a lot about mental health. That may have been mental health. It may have been social anxiety. It may have been a fear of no one liking me. It may be, so that evolved, but I don't think it changed. Does that make sense? Like you got me thinking.
It does. It's almost like though you had to develop a certain skill set in order for that to come out. It's always been there.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I get it.
I do also think that there are certain things about people that you cannot change. For instance, there's things about me that my wife would like to change that has never changed over. Like I was grown up. I was grown up. I grew up in a household where, my mom did a lot of things for me, right? Like I never had to, do the dishes. I never had to do my own laundry. So now I think that stuff has stuck with me, and my wife could tell you a little bit more about it. Where like
I'm sure she could. Yes,
I do those things now, but I always have to be constantly reminded, right? And when the laundry isn't done, I go back to like when my mom was
spoiling you.
Yeah, and I'm like, where's my? I was like, well, maybe if you did some laundry, you'd have.
Good job being an adult.
Those clean things that people change every day.
And Anne is a saint.
Yeah. So, hey, you know what? But I do like that thought. That's fair. Were you watching Castaway, or did you just kind of think about it?
I watched it yesterday. It was awesome. I sat on the couch for 2 hours.
What else did you watch? Because I watched a great movie this weekend too. What else did you watch?
That was it. I can only sit still for about 2 hours at a time, but that's 2 hours more than before. So I'm doing well.
I watched the new Zack Snyder movie on Netflix called Army of the Dead.
It looks so scary.
No, first of all, it's not scary. It's because it's very tongue in cheek.
Okay.
And Zack Snyder did a great job. It's hysterical. It's bloody and gory, but not in a gross way. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. But it's, you know what I mean? but it's so insane and tongue-in-cheek and silly and funny, and the action is great, and it takes place during a zombie apocalypse, but the difference is it's contained to Las Vegas only. So
Fun.
and there's like really, really, really intelligent zombies.
Okay.
So they're essentially an army. You know, there's some stupid ones, but these are really smart. And so they are very difficult to kill. And it's just a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun. Definitely watch it.
I like it.
Hey, so speaking of actually nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. No segue. You were going to talk about something awesome, though. Just do it. I was
looking in that. Yeah. You know, technology is kind of this ever evolving thing, as we know. And I read the New York Times technology section because there's a lot of cool stuff in there. Jessie, if you know how we always wish that people knew kind of what we were thinking.
No.
Like, yeah, like, you know, let's say my wife says, no, that's okay. You don't have to get me anything for my birthday, but and then I take her at face value.
Yes.
Right. You know, like as if Mariah Carey's singing about all I want for Christmas is you, and then you literally bring her you, and she's like, where's my gift? And you're like, but you asked for me. Like, you know what I'm saying? So what if technology could read your mind? Would that make you scared?
No, not at all. Please read my mind.
Not literally. What if it could tell by the tone of your voice? Like if you said, Alexa, find me a movie to watch today because I just want to relax and chill. And
I would love that.
No. But Alexa, based on the way you said that, thought that you were sad and said, Jessie, you sound sad. Maybe a pint of ice cream would make you happy. How about Ben and Jerry's? Like, would you like technology to analyze the way you say something? Okay, so that has pluses and minuses, because what they're saying now is like this could be used in so many different ways.
Oh my gosh.
It's called vocal profiling.
Yeah. See, no, I'm on the side of I don't care who's listening. And so you can market to me so I can have more products and leverage in my life. That would be amazing. Like I'm cool with all of that. And a lot of people are, you know, privacy wise, they're fearful of that. I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum. So yes, read the tone of my voice and give me ice cream. Mm-hmm.
The thing that they're worried about is like it'll start to be used for like situations where, you know, maybe it could be crossing a line. You know, they're comparing it to kind of like, well, because what if you're having a conversation? What if you're, here, let me see what this says. It's vocal profiling. Yeah, it would be using the human body for discriminating among people, and just kind of assuming that they're feeling a certain way. It could be used by the police to determine who should be arrested, or by banks to say who's worthy of a mortgage. Like these are fine lines. Like if you're on a phone with the mortgage company and they think that you sound a certain way, it's, you know, this could be vocal profiling.
I can hear that, but also do sad people not deserve mortgages? I just can't think of like an emotion that would prevent. Yeah, I mean, I have more questions.
I have a lot more questions, but what if I'm just tired and I don't necessarily want ice cream? You know, what if I'm just like, but maybe you would tell if you were tired as opposed to sad.
I want to test it out. I want to test it. I'll be a tester person. I'll do that.
But they're like, after years of researching Americans' evolving attitudes about our digital jet stream and personal data, some say that uses of technology had so much risk for so little upside that they should be stopped before they got big. There'd be, you know, vocally profiling. We have to outlaw voice profiling for the purpose of marketing. Oh, so yeah. So like, let's say you sound, you know, let's just say sad, or let's say you sound, well, I think for some ways it could be good. Like if you sound drunk and maybe the Alexa could say, hey, Nick, maybe you shouldn't drive. Let me call you an Uber. That would actually be a good thing.
But then what if I just have a speech impediment and then my car doesn't work? Right? Like, Seriously.
see, technology is so, like, if you have a stutter, technology is so smart. I think it would know if you stuttered.
Rebecca Douglas, awesome agent in my office. Just don't profile my face because it'll tell you everything I'm thinking but not saying. Yes, me too. Well,
Yeah.
until Botox.
Well, someone watching on YouTube saying, fortunately, profiling is highly illegal in every civilized developed country.
Yes.
Yes, correct.
Yes, agreed.
But what if it's hidden in a what if it's hidden in a way where it's not like if a piece of technology like Alexa can analyze whether you're happy or sad, is that profiling or is that just analyzing? So I think there's a fine line. I'm definitely not for this because it'll be used in weird ways that shouldn't be.
Bad people will figure out how to use good stuff in bad ways. Sure.
Totally.
But I still want to be a tester person for it. I'm curious to see what our genius guest has to say about that.
I'm just going to use it when my wife says, "That's okay. You don't have to give me anything for my anniversary." And then Alexa's like, "Psst, she's lying.
Yeah.
She wants that ring that she saw."
Yeah. That would be great. I'm down.
Anyway, I love your shirt today. We're going to find out what your shirt is in a second because we have an awesome guest. And we're going to bring him on. Oh, what's going on? Thomas Eaves.
Good morning.
Thomas Eaves, founder, CEO of Thomas Eaves Realty Group. My friend, ALC member, leader in this office, and just an awesome ally to the Market Center. I think I said in our text last night, he helps me culture punch people in the throat when they're stepping out of culture. And I love that. So, hi, Thomas. How are you?
Hi. Good morning. What an intro. Thank you.
You have an awesome Thomas Eaves Realty shirt, which I'm kind of sad that I don't have. I'll trade you an LCA shirt for a Thomas Eaves Group shirt, Thomas.
It's on the way.
Yeah,
it's on the way.
In the mail.
I'm a walking billboard for our people. So yes, please where are all of the t-shirts? And you have impeccable marketing. I want to ask you about that first. Sure. So first of all, tell me about your group. Tell me about your team. Who's on your team?
Yeah.
So my team, I love to talk about where my team's been before I talk about where it is, because something Gary Keller says frequently that I really relate to is he's like, the reason I'm standing up here in front of all of you is because I failed more times than you. I relate to that a lot. I have if there was a trend in my business, it's been just unapologetic failure for years. And I mean that in the best possible way. I have failed forward. And it didn't feel like that for a really long time. But my team has had over 16 agents come through the revolving door of the Eaves Realty Group. We've had a menagerie of pseudo coaches that have come through and some really, really great ideas that have, burst into flames. But, recently we've sort of figured some things out. And we've learned where to invest our time and our money. And we've learned not to hire based on flattery. And so things have gone really, really well. So now my team consists of one producing agent. Hi, it's me. And 3 admins. And that was the formula. That was the right formula. Mm-hmm. So it's different. It's way better. And it's if you would have told me a year ago if this is what it was going to look like, I would have thought you were an idiot. Mm-hmm. I was the idiot, though.
Can I also just say that you just won a prize? You're the first guest on our show to say the word menagerie.
Oh, menagerie, yeah. I love
that word.
I love vocabulary. Yeah, I don't have the vocabulary of any other 30-year-old I've ever met. It gets me into trouble a lot.
It's also a word in one of my favorite plays by Arthur Miller called The Glass Menagerie.
Oh, yes. So, Thomas, we share an affinity for words. The words that you say have meanings, right? So cool. So
anyone watching in the comments on Facebook, give me the correct definition of menagerie without Googling and copying and paste it, and you'll get a round of applause.
A round of applause. I like it better. So, what was the first switch as far as leverage you flipped, Thomas?
So, and I'll tell you, this is actually, I don't give this enough credit. It's what changed my business. It's what changed my life. Is I hired a transaction coordinator.
Well,
And whenever I say hired, I mean, I just gave my paperwork to a person who was going to get paid a really ridiculously low fee at closing. Not like I started putting someone on the payroll or writing
Are you
checks.
saying that you leveraged someone to do
Mhm.
something else so you could stick to your top 20%?
Yeah, bingo.
I
Bingo.
want everybody to hear this though, because you did it the right way. Like a lot of times we'll hire a transaction coordinator and like
Mhm.
they're really just like a compliance to close person. Thomas takes an executed contract, says, here you go. Tell me when to be at the closing table.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't want to see it. I don't want to touch it. I don't want to hear about it until the closing.
And that's difficult for people to let go because nobody could do
No.
it better than us, right? But
Well, see, some people, they are control freaks. I'm the anti-control freak. It's kind of like Nick is the anti-guru. I'm the anti-control freak. I can't get rid of stuff fast enough.
Did you
I can't.
just mention that in that podcast? He hasn't even looked yet.
I love your anti-guru post. It's because, and so can I tell you some of my pet peeves? And we'll get back to this topic, Jessie,
Please.
because it's important. But some of my favorite pet peeves are people that say things like, I'm going to cringe as I say it, rise and grind,
Oh my gosh.
smile and dial. Yeah, I just, there's a whole culture out there of people that say things like that, and you know they are followers of people that
This
say
real
things.
estate agent runs on coffee and hustle.
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, right.
It's the equivalent of those like old signs that say like "live, laugh, love." It makes me cringe in the same way. And so yeah, I don't believe that. I'm going to challenge everything that someone says. I look. It doesn't matter how well I know you and trust you. I'm not going to believe anything you say until I've challenged it and vetted it and explored the other side. And what I found is that most of those people are full of crap.
I don't trust morning people. I don't trust. That's not true. I trust morning. I don't trust people who are like my 6-year-old when they've been sleeping for 12 hours and they wake up and it's like they weren't just sleeping for 12 hours.
Yeah,
I don't trust those people.
Yeah, well, when Jessie told me, 7:25 a.m., I was like, "Oh, you mean the millennial midnight?" Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I guess I'm staying up because I'm staying up later.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Thomas, he is so our standing committee, our technology committee is kind of split into two pieces: social media and automation. And I've called you the king of automation. And I hope you don't mind me sharing this because I'm gonna. But Thomas lead generates for a maximum of 1 hour per month.
I love that. Now, explain to us. First of all, automation is my jam. Okay.
Yeah.
Make money when you sleep, literally. So Thomas, tell us about that. Because when I saw that in the description that Jessie posted on Facebook, I was like, okay, let's see, speaking my language. So yeah, talk to us.
Yeah, well, let's get back into some of the anti-guru stuff. I don't take pride in working harder than everyone else. I don't think that makes any sense. If you go back to like ancient human beings, like if you get really archaic about it, like we're hunter-gatherers and we have to conserve our energy because we don't know when we're going to get filled up. We don't know when we're going to get fuel, and so we have to be really careful about where we're exerting our energy. And so I don't just go out slopping energy all over the world and I'm just like, no, we got to conserve this. And so I love to look like I'm working. I love to have communications going out that really look like I'm out there trying real hard. But really, it's a funnel, and the funnel starts with automation, right? And it could be text messages, it could be emails. Nick, you guys talked recently about kind of email is dying. Untracked email is dying. My
100%.
favorite communication is email. I love email. I love it. And it's because it's super effective and there's very few laws that govern how we use it, unlike the phone. So I've gotten really good with emails that send out automatically. I know when they've been opened. I know who opened them. I know how many times they opened them. I know which links they clicked. I know when they clicked on my video. I know how long my video is, so I know exactly when to follow up with that person.
First of all, I love that you're saying this because I love the email capability, the email systems that I use. Yeah. I love that it not only tells me how many people opened it or how many people clicked links and how many times they clicked the link.
Yeah.
It also shows me the most engaged people on my list. So you're able to, let's say I have a 34% open rate and I have 20 some odd thousand. So I feel like that's very good. 34%, right? I can then only send really important emails to that 34%, especially if I'm like selling something or there's a message I really want to get across, because those are the people that engage the most in my content. So why would I
self-tagging themselves
the 20,000 and risk all this unsubscribe and then get banned from MailChimp when I can focus on the 34%?
What you are describing is something that I have been shouting from the mountaintops to CRM creators for the past 3 or 4 years, which is called the conditional drip campaign. And the conditional drip campaign is, I don't want to send out my next communication until and unless this person has clicked on it. Mm-hmm. Why do I want to send out the next email if that person didn't open the first one? Mm-hmm. Right. And CRMs haven't figured out how to do that just yet. And yet the conditional drip campaign is what we've created. And unfortunately, that it can't be automated yet.
Well, the only CRM that really has done that is Infusionsoft. Unfortunately, Infusionsoft isn't user friendly. We need to have, and it's like an if this then that approach. If someone does this, then you send them that.
In my mind, it's just a re-trigger. We have triggers, right? That'll start a campaign for us, but it's just a re-trigger. And so it seems technology is so simple in my mind, right? I don't build it though. So,
like for example, let's say we have a lead that comes in, and we put them on a drip campaign. And one of the emails is an email with new listings, but they don't open that email. And then the CRM sends another email a couple of days later saying, hey, what do you think of those listings? But they didn't open them. With an if this, then that, if they didn't open it, the next email would say, hey, Thomas, I just wanted to make sure that you got this link. Here's a list of new homes for sale. And when they open that, then the email asking what they thought would be.
If this, then that.
That's right. Yes. And so what's interesting, the way that I've automated that is it's not automated, but it's automated for me, is I have a director of operations and I have an executive assistant who go in and watch for engagement. And then based on the engagement, the contacts are an A, a B, or a C. The A's have their own drip campaign that I'm very involved in. The B's have their own drip campaign that I'm somewhat involved in. The C's have a drip campaign that I'm not involved in at all. As the talent, right? So I still managed to automate it. I just automated it via putting people in charge of it who are not me.
Sometimes people are part of the system, right? So you had invested in people. What order did your investments go in? So like this has been a big year and a half for you, almost 2 years now.
So if I could just take the opportunity to answer a question that could be really short and sweet with a really lengthy answer.
Please.
I'm going to do that anyway. So we've got time to fill, right? So what I'd love to tell you about is where I was spending my time and money before I started making the right investments. Because I think some agents are going to relate to this. Before I started making the right investments, I was investing my time in things like making flyers and redecorating my office and writing bios for myself that made me sound more successful than I was. And I was spending my money on things like name tags and business cards and like car decals, magnets with like baseball schedules on them, sponsoring baseball teams. That's where I was spending my time, my money, right? And I was convincing myself, like, I'm a business owner. I've got to do these things. So after success, I started disproportionately investing in people. And by the way, I didn't have that realization until a couple of weeks ago when my MAPS coach, Mike Vizda, who I should just go ahead and give all the praise in the world to.
Awesome coach.
Exceptional. Really, can't give him enough credit. He said the words to me. He was like, my wife and I realized we got really successful when we started disproportionately investing in coaching. And I went, okay, that makes sense. And what I realized is, to just take it a step further, as soon as I started disproportionately investing in people in the form of coaching and in leverage, my business literally increased by 240%. Real number.
Literally.
So like literally, actually. So what I started investing in was coaching. The things that I'm really, really good at, I started investing a lot of time in those. The things I really enjoy doing, I started spending time in those. And the money went towards coaching and leverage and client care and meaningful technology.
I love it, dude. Hey, can I make a comment real quick?
Yeah.
So, during the pandemic, this year specifically, okay, the housing market, as we know, is super scarce. Like there's not a lot going on for sale. There's more realtors than there are homes for sale. And I am seeing the agents that are thriving and having their best years ever are really the ones that are focusing on pivoting in a sense of the really heavy smile and dial, cold call expireds and FSBOs and circle prospecting agents. From what I'm seeing from my research, looking at KW as an open book, looking at the KW numbers and looking at the teams and agents that I know are very heavy on relying on expireds when there's nothing for sale because things are selling, nothing's expiring. So who are you going to call? I'm seeing those numbers for those teams and agents down. I'm seeing the agents that are pivoting and focusing heavily on community and relationships. Their businesses are up. And I want to know if you guys are seeing that too, because I find it very interesting. You know, the ones that always say, oh, I'm just going to cold call all day, all day, all day, all day. I think even this market aside, that's where we have to start pivoting anyway, because if you always have that some sort of foundation in your business, you're not going to ever have to worry if there's anyone to call or not.
Nick, you don't know this, but this is actually a perfect question for Thomas. I'll let you. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you didn't know is that I built my business on expired listings.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
And by the way, there are still some expirations.
Sure.
And what I'm finding is and you would think, like, if you're expiring in this market, your price was horrible, your condition was horrible, and or your location was horrible.
Right.
And what I'm finding is, in a lot of cases, no, your agent really genuinely didn't have a plan. And I mean that in the nicest and most ethical possible way. It's still possible to fail due to marketing in this market. Some people are like, you could just put it on Craigslist and sell. Maybe. And yet we've got a lot of like high-end homes here in neighborhoods that have really low turnover. And they're just not being marketed right. But I'll tell you, last year, 64% of my business was repeat and referral.
Okay.
And so the community-based thing, here's what I learned about myself, just a self-reflective moment over the last year, is that I suck at taking care of people once we're outside of the transaction. If you're in a transaction with Thomas Eaves, you are going to be loved and nurtured and taken care of, and you're going to feel warm and fuzzy. The moment we're out of a transaction, you're going to think I forgot who you were. And that's just, it's my nature. I'm a high D personality. I struggle to focus on the people who aren't really in my ecosystem. And so that's why I hired my director of operations, which also happens to be my spouse, because his talent is loving people. And
he's done amazing. Has it even been?
He really has.
Has it even been a month?
No, I think we're like 3 weeks on the job, and has already. Well, the way I was describing it the other day is I was like, I built systems in the form of like a dinghy, like it floats, it'll get you from point A to point B, maybe. And yet he and my executive assistant are building a cruise ship, and it's amazing. Like, I didn't even know my systems could look that good. I'm like, wow, okay. It puts a lot of pressure on me. It makes me realize just how talentless I really am.
But in less than a month, he's taken what you think and what you want and has put it into an actual system. Like it's beautiful.
And it's holding me accountable to doing it. Yeah, it's like I had these ideas, and now all of a sudden it's just like, okay, yeah, we'll just go ahead and do it. Here's the platform. Just go ahead and do it. Oh, okay.
So will you talk to the agent that is not necessarily just starting out, but doesn't have the savings and the profit margin yet to be able to invest in anything?
I love that you said that, because I remember being a baby agent, if you will, and watching, successful real estate agents at the front of training rooms saying things like, invest in leverage and invest in people, and you got to put your money here and you got to put your time here. And I was thinking, these are the most out of touch idiots I've ever listened to in my entire life. I have a negative account balance. Wells Fargo is coming after me for overdraft fees.
I'm starving. Yeah.
And what I realized, half a decade later is, you were right. You just didn't preface it. I wish more agents would have less ego in this, and we would just approach this like, look, I've missed a mortgage payment. I maxed out all my credit cards getting into real estate. Like, I have already died in this industry 1,000 deaths. I get it. I know where you are. Please, for the love of God, listen to me. Like, you have to get leverage, right? And so that was something that was great with my transaction coordinator. I did not have to pay her. She did not get paid until I got paid. Go get yourself a talented transaction coordinator who has to earn their money. That's great. That's the first thing you should do.
Now, also, and just so everyone knows, that's going to be extremely difficult because you really have to find very motivated people with an enormous why and with a mindset of coming from a place of abundance, as opposed to someone who just wants to work for a salary or an hourly wage who gets paid no matter what happens. In the business. So
there's so many amazing freelance companies and people that are doing it that they don't care if you send them one transaction or 50. They're set up and ready to do that. Get with your leadership. These people
and Jessie, I think you sent me my transaction coordinator. I think you were the one who inspired me to hire that person. And so I think that in a lot of situations you have to ask who, not what. I'm a big fan of asking who, not what. And so it's like, who are you using? Who has done this before me? And how can I just I want to do as little thinking as possible. If I think about it, I'm going to probably screw it up. Mm-hmm. So I just took what somebody else did and I ran with that, and that tended to work out really, really well. And if it didn't, I would have pivoted and gone with someone else.
I want to show you guys a cool piece of information. I'm going to share my screen. So check this out. I know it's going to be crazy. This is some super crazy special effects. This is actually a chart that Gary shared with us. I believe it may have been Mega Camp of 2019. And if you're listening to the podcast, I'm going to say it out loud so you can hear it all. This is a chart that shows in 2019 how much venture capitalist funding was invested into different aspects of real estate technology. Mm-hmm. And this goes along the lines of what Thomas was saying. And I'll get to that. So this chart says that in 2019, 51 million in venture capitalist funding was invested into search. So like IDX search, home search. All right. 425 million was invested into brokerages. So like, companies that buy other companies or pay agents to join them, that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. 1.96 billion was invested into iBuyer. And honestly, like, I don't feel like iBuyer is any sort of competition at this point. I thought that we thought it was going to be, but it's not. 1.36 billion in 2019 was invested into mortgage, and 265 million was invested into ancillary services like title, insurance, that type of stuff. Now check this out. The amount of money invested into technology and real estate from venture capitalist firms that people invested into technology that focused on the post close, like after someone bought a house, technology invested into that type of technology. Money invested
post purchase,
$0 of VC funding in 2019 was invested into tech that helps you nurture your clients after they close on a property. Zero. That's because those companies don't see a value in someone who already bought a home. So guys, this is where you have to focus your efforts. Yes, you have to focus on lead generating for new business. Of course, that goes without saying. But after the close, having the right type of client appreciation program or follow-up or drip or whatever it is where you need to really be focusing. Because, Thomas, didn't you say last year 64% of your business came from repeat and referral?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
You got to, dude, nobody is focusing on this. And this is a type of tech, and this is the type of leverage you guys need to look for.
Well, because it's not in agents' minds, it's not the right now money. That's not the right now money, the nurture, but it's 80%, right? It's 80% of our business. on
This
average.
is what Gary's talking about whenever he says build a moat around your people. He sees that 0 as the biggest opportunity, right?
Mhm.
Oh, that's
And
why he
so
wanted to show it to us. No one's,
Mm.
yeah.
that's right. That's right. And so, this goes back to what you were saying at the beginning, Jesse, which is that you can't change your personality. And so I wasn't going to sit here and try to change my personality to someone who's super nurturing and community minded. I was like, but I can hire someone who is.
You're missing a who. Yeah.
And so that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what I did. I hired someone and even if that's still me who's performing the tasks, I get to be directed. It's like, Thomas, you really need to pay attention to these people. I was like, oh God, I do. Yeah, okay. Well, here I go. And so the person to basically wind me up and set me going in the right direction is now in charge and making sure that my community knows that I love them and
Mhm.
feels that.
So normally, we talk about the messy middle. There's a cool graph for it somewhere. It's in one of our 57 KWU courses. The messy middle, that we hire a person and we see our profit margin decrease, and then we start to get real nervous, right? Because that person is not making money for us yet. How are you dealing with that? Are your hires already profitable? Have they ever not been? How does that work?
One, I'll shout out my coach again, Mike Vizda. He's really good at keeping me focused on my not on my bank account, but on my pipeline. And I'll tell you that the hires that I've made have already contributed 6 figures to my pipeline. So
That's awesome.
I have to focus on the right things, and that's the right thing to focus on. And so it is messy if your mind's not in the right place. I'm surrounded by who I believe to be the absolute best people in the industry who keep my mind right. So I think that's the key. I think that's the kicker is about who you surround yourself with.
So
Totally.
we
That's why Jessie's life is substantially better than it used to be, because she gets to talk to me 3 times a week.
Yeah,
100%.
I believe that.
I mean, I'm just, listen.
I do.
I didn't say. I'm just repeating what other people say.
No, I really do. Starting your morning out, getting to do what I love to do, which is it's fun and learning. So the fun part we always cover. The learning part, occasionally.
It's questionable.
So, Thomas, you and I have talked about burnout before.
Mm-hmm.
You've been through it. I've been through it. And so how this is just a big theme in my life. What did you do to get out of it? How do you prevent it? What is that? More so, how did you get out of it?
Yeah. Well, a couple things. One is this is, some people would think it's overrated. It's really not. Is focusing on what to be grateful for. I focus on gratitude. The moment I start to feel like I'm in scarcity, I go, hold on. Is this a perspective issue? Because it probably is. Mm-hmm. And so I start to put into perspective, like, okay, what do I have? My favorite way to look at it is, what did I not think I was going to have a year ago that I have now that I'm not being grateful for?
That's a great question.
And so that's the first place that I go. The next place I go is I'm a big Tony Robbins fan. I went down the Tony Robbins wormhole a few years ago.
You do a great impression of him too.
I do, especially on Marco Polo. It's got the right.
Let me hear it. Go.
Yeah, no. I'm not being embarrassed this morning. It's not.
Yeah, no.
He talks about alkalizing. So it's really good. But so he talks about the 6 needs for fulfillment. All right. And so, and they are certainty, spontaneity. Now that I'm on the spot, I can't remember all of them. Love and connection, uniqueness, growth, and giving. So those are the 6. And I've gotten really good at going, if I'm not feeling fulfilled, I'm missing at least 3 of these. Right. And so I sit back and I go, okay, am I lacking certainty? No. Am I lacking spontaneity? Maybe. Am I lacking love and connection? No. Am I lacking uniqueness? Maybe. Am I lacking growth? Yes. Am I lacking giving? No. So I go, okay, well, there's the 3. How do we address those? Okay, well, spontaneity. Well, no, so I'm a practical psychiatrist for myself. Mm-hmm. If I'm lacking spontaneity, I probably need to go on a vacation, maybe to Arkansas, and just walk through the woods.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, if I'm lacking uniqueness, then maybe I need to go get a tattoo. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have any of those, by the way. But maybe that's what you need. And then if I'm not in growth, I think that's where going into gratitude comes from, because what I've realized is that I am on an upward trajectory. I just you're going to level off. It happens. Every breakdown leads to a breakthrough. And so I started really looking forward to the breakdowns.
So what's next? What's the next big thing for you? What are you focused on? What's the next big project?
Well, it's really weird because, for years, my big why was just like, how do I pay the bills without having an anxiety attack every month?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now I'm sitting here like, gosh, which yacht am I going to buy? No, I'm just kidding.
The Jeff Bezos yacht that comes with a yacht.
I really do want a boat.
Yes, exactly. Yes, a yacht with a yacht. So I think the next thing for me is just I want I want more people brought into my ecosystem that my organization is big enough for them to feel like they can thrive in. And that there used to be ego in that, like how big can I grow this thing? And it's not anymore. It's just like, how many people can I serve by, that sounds cringy when I think about it, but it's true though. How many people can I serve by having built the vessel for them to be served by?
I love that you said that because, you had mentioned earlier when we started that you at one point had 16 agents on your team and, it was a revolving door. And one of the, what's that, Jessie?
It said through.
Oh, through your team.
Through. Thomas is a very attractive leader. And so naturally, agents come to him to learn from him. And so
I mean, I can see
about hiring.
Yeah. So he had said that you had 16 agents through your team and it was a revolving door. And, that was maybe a mistake that you have to look at yourself first as the leader, right? Why are people coming in and leaving? But what I was saying was that it's not about, when you ask a lot of agents, agents say, I want to build a team. Why do you want to do that? Well, because, I just want to have, a big business. If the answer to that question isn't, I want to help others grow in their own business and help them create a life that they were missing or that they're proud of, that's why you build a team,
right.
You build a team to help other people. When I had my two teams, one in Michigan, one in New Jersey, and I was super proud that every agent on my team made over $100,000 in their first year in the business. And
wow, I'd never heard that before, Nick. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, I mean, that's what I was super proud of. They all capped their first year. I had an agent on my team who wasn't new, but the first year that she came on my team, she's actually the agent that sold me the house I live in now in Michigan, and I recruited her. She went from selling 7 houses the year before to selling 25 and making $130,000 net in commissions the year after joining. And it's the most money she's ever made in her life. And it's because she didn't have systems and models, and mine worked. And that kind of stuff makes me really, really excited.
That's impact. That Jay Papasan said recently that the educators are in it for the impact. Like the people that in our market centers that are standing up and teaching, it's because they truly want to make a difference. And so impact is a big word in my life. What about, do you do that, Thomas? Do you have a word? Do you have a focus word? Like I know some people do it every year. I don't think I've ever asked you that before. Or a certain word that just keeps, like right now mine is collaboration. It won't go away. Everyone keeps saying collaboration to me. So do you have that?
I don't have a word. No, I love words too much. I end up with too many words.
Okay.
You have a menagerie.
Yeah, a cornucopia of words. Nick was saying, of what he was proud of with that team. I think that whenever, building a team, we have selfish goals and we have selfless goals.
Mm-hmm.
My selfless goals have always been, I really do what pours into me is helping is rather watching someone not make the mistakes that I made, watching people get to bypass the speed bumps that I went over because of the information I've been able to impart upon them. That fills my bucket, really does.
Mm-hmm.
And the selfish goal around that is, well, I get to be more profitable, and that's not, money has no meaning, right? It's that I get to build a life by design, not by default, by being profitable as a result of helping that person. I mean, that's the ultimate win-win, right?
Mm-hmm.
That person wins. Now I get to have a life by design I mean, I
Mhm.
think that's our goal here is how can I help a whole bunch of people help themselves and them be really successful and me get to impart in some of the profit and get to live a better life by design.
You said
Right?
you're the anti-control freak. However, your big thing is
Yeah.
freedom, and so which is another way to
Yeah.
define that control over your time. The only
It's
thing that you
control over
want
my
to be
time.
able to control is time. That's awesome.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
I
right.
think that Thomas needs to be the very first guest on my very first episode of the Anti-Guru podcast.
We have so much content that better be a 3-hour episode.
Dude, there's no time limit, man. We'll just
That's great. Oh yeah. Well,
So all right, books. We've shared a lot of
Yeah.
books. We've shared a lot of books.
Yeah.
I know the one that you're reading and read. I think I know the one you're reading and read most recently, but most impactful books over the last year or ever.
Yeah. So the one that I just finished was Founder of the Force Multiplier by our buddy Adam
Awesome.
Hergenrother.
Yeah.
So I read that one because I got into business with my director of operations, who's also my spouse, and we have to read through all of that and figure out. I think that by the way, Julian got more out of that book than I did. I got a lot out of that book, but listening to it and how to treat your executive and everything, I was just like, oh my god, I'm exhausted just reading it. It wasn't exhausting.
Real quick, Thomas. Rebecca Douglas is watching on Facebook. Is she part of your team?
No, she is not. Though I adore Rebecca Douglas.
She's on the ALC with us. Yes.
She's interacting a lot with us on Facebook, and I just saw that she said that. I must have been doing something behind the scenes here, but she says, when are we starting with Nick Systems, Jessie? Well, Rebecca, I have offered to come teach for your market center numerous times. Jessie just has to let me know when she wants me to do that. So get on her about that.
Jessie just needs to leverage that to the person who's scheduled.
Yeah, and actually,
so, Lane, if you're watching.
We're also talking to the chair of our career development education committee.
True.
So,
That's true.
Thomas, that's good job.
We have time on May 24th.
Yeah, Jessie doesn't do anything. She relaxes and watches movies all day. Remember?
Yes.
Go ahead, Thomas. Before I interrupted you so rudely, were we talking about menageries or something else at this point?
Yes, menageries,
Founder Force Multiplier.
Founder of the Force Multiplier. Great book. Really struggled to get through it. I would say, other than the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, it was the second most difficult book for a high D personality to get through. But I also recently read. Actually, you shouted him out on this program. It was Ryan Serhant. Y'all were talking about Big Money Energy, and I was like, that's a book I've got to go read, and I do not regret it. That was one of the most fun books that I've read in a long time.
Books. Sell It Like Serhant is a great book, and Big Money Energy is a great book as well. And the reason why I love and Jessie knows I don't read business and leadership books anymore. However, I do make exceptions for certain things. The reason why I love Ryan's books is because they're stories.
Yeah.
Right. Like
they just and he reads them. I love that he reads them in his voice.
Well, right. And when you're reading the book, you can hear him because we've had him on Lab Code Agents like 6 times.
6 times. Yeah, I've watched.
Yeah, and he is so. I mean, he's just the way he is in books, just the way he is on TV, and his stories are so honest and great. That's why I love them, and I learned so much from the stories. Right? Like I don't know if I could read Founder Force Multiplier. I have it. I think Adam's great, but I'm a high I, and I would not like with the MREA. I read the 4 models, and I'm done. Like I cannot. Read the book.
No, Adam's awesome, and listening to him exasperatedly read his way through his own book is exhausting because you can tell that it's a high D personality trying to read the writing of a high D personality, and you're just like, just stop. But yes, great book. Big Money Energy. Jessie, you and I have talked about the power of moments 100 times. That's that book has had impact, long-term impacts on me. So those, I think those are the ones. I'm reading Big Money Energy, not Big Money Energy, his other book, Sell Like Serhant now, just to piece all the pieces together. I just enjoy it so much. I love it.
Thomas, you're always pouring in, always an asset, and you demand people around you to be better. And that's one of the 1,000 reasons I love you. Thank you for being here. We didn't ask you about your morning. This is really your midnight.
Well, my mornings consist of affirmations, coffee, and Audible. Whenever they begin. Those are the 3.
Oh, thanks for watching,
Cammy. In the morning, Thomas. When do you wake up?
Whenever I want to, Nick.
Dude, thank you so much. You are definitely the first guest on the
No rise and grind.
Guru podcast.
Yeah.
I'm hosting that with Lauren Lucido. And
Yeah.
so now I've got our first guest, and now we can record
Some mornings
the
it's
first
6, some mornings it's not morning.
Dude, I
so
love that so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for saying that. And how old are you? 30?
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
Hey,
No, that's okay.
Hey.
And so what? Okay, so you're listening or reading to the Ryan's Handbook. What other types of books have you read recently, or that we should know about?
Well, polar to your tastes, Nick. I love nothing more than a self-help book. I love it. I love it. I've read pretty much all of them. Some of them I think are ridiculously overrated. And I won't call those people out. Some of them I think are life-changing. They're exceptional. And you know what? Sometimes it's the energy that Jessie and I have talked about this. Sometimes it's the energy you get out of a book, and it really doesn't matter what the topic was. I got a ton out of The Miracle Morning. I don't do anything in The Miracle Morning. I loved reading that book. I loved it. I would go back and reread it. I'm not going to do it. I loved it.
We talk about our believies. Like, I have these beliefs. I don't follow any of them. They're just my little believies. I just want to have them.
Okay.
Yes.
I forgive myself for that.
Have you read this? How I Built This by Guy Raz?
No.
I am 3/4 of the way through. I loved it. I loved it, and I think you'd get the same energy from it. 10 out of 10. Will recommend.
Yep, will do.
So, can I recommend a book to you?
Please.
And again, this is the type of business self-help book that I enjoy, right? So it's called Rebel Talent. Why It Pays to Break the Rules at Work and in Life.
That sounds right up my alley.
Me too.
The thing I love this book. The thing I love, and by the way, it's upside down in the.
I'm offended that you haven't recommended it to me yet, but it's cool.
The reason why I love this book is because it's stories about people and companies that did things differently, and everyone thought that was stupid and they were going to fail, and they ended up being some of the most successful companies in the entire world. And I read this book and I'm like, why isn't Keller Williams in this book? Because there are a lot of stories in here that remind me of the way Gary always is pivoting the business, and everyone is saying he's insane, and then it starts to work, and then everyone starts doing what he did 2-3 years later. So this is a great, fun book with lots of great stories and anecdotes around just cool people, current and past, right? That have done things differently, and everyone doubted them, and I just think it's great. I'm
gonna be brave and say a message that this is okay. These two books that you were just recommended, Thomas. This is How I Built This by Guy Raz, The Unexpected Paths to Success from the World's Most Inspiring Entrepreneurs. Nick, what you just recommended, Rebel Talent, about how rule breakers did things completely differently to build something giant. This is obviously a message that you're needing to hear, and somebody else's too. So y'all have some reading to do.
I love nothing more than challenging the status quo. And I know that if I had listened to the advice that I was given when I got into the business, I would be out knocking doors right now or cold calling. And where I live in 2021, it's just, that's not my model. And it was never going to be. And everyone who told me that I had to do it, I rejected and resented, and wasn't true, was it? So
before we go, I just want to say that the word prospecting is a 4-letter word to a lot of agents, and I think that's because when we think of prospecting, we think of door knocking and cold calling, right? Whereas prospecting is everything that you're doing every day, like. I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old, right? If we go to a play date, am I actively prospecting at a play date with other parents? No, but when the conversation of real estate comes up, will I then turn on my prospecting hat? Yeah, of course. So prospecting doesn't mean hounding the phones. It just means having relationships and having conversations and
keeping your eyes open for a match for your services.
Well, you make sure that your reticular activating system is always primed and listening for those things. And mine's really, really acute. I can hear someone talking about housing from 100 yards away, and I can't hear anything. So it's pretty stunning. That part of the brain is tuned up.
What did we not ask you? What did we not ask you that you wanted to say?
What did we not?
I had a whole list. We missed pretty much the whole thing.
Oh,
No,
well,
I'm just kidding. Actually, so well, the one thing that we didn't talk about was agents in this marketplace. I'm still under the impression that this is a skills-based business. I know everybody thinks that real estate agents, we just put stuff online. I genuinely still think that it's a skills-based business, and I think that your best value prop is having a plan. The best thing I ever did for my business was write down my plan. So you should do that.
I think that's great. Write your plan down.
Yeah, you should write your plan down.
Write your plan down.
So
Yes.
you can tell people what it is.
Yeah.
I love it.
Again and again and again.
Yeah.
Thomas Eaves, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
I always enjoy our conversations. It can go on for hours and hours. We learned that you're the first guest on the Anti-Guru podcast when it comes out.
I can't wait.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome.
I'll write the foreword of the Anti-Guru book, by the way.
Dude, I think we should write that together, Tom.
That's going to be really good.
Let's go.
You're welcome for putting the both of y'all together. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
There's not enough people who see the anti-guru is not a bad thing.
No,
the anti-guru is, and I make sure to say, look, I'm not knocking people who do these very regimented things because they think it's going to make them. What I'm saying is, some of us have things that get in the way, like
some of us are human, and so let's take a no-nonsense approach to being an entrepreneur.
Exactly. Well, this has been fun, Thomas. I can't believe we did connect once at a bar somewhere in Dallas. But we haven't connected since, so I'm glad that we did connect. And I have found out that Jessie literally has the coolest agents in her market center. Like the agents she's had on here with her market center, super awesome. So
it's all downhill from here, Nick.
I would assume that it would be. I would assume that would be. Yep. All right, everyone, listen, have an amazing day. We're so glad that you joined us. We'll see you on Wednesday, and make